branch coordinator there, and he's going to share with us thoughts on how Jehovah's work is being carried on there in Italy. So now we want to pay close attention to Brother Fenati.
It is really a pleasure for me to have the opportunity to be with you this morning and to have the opportunity to talk a little bit about the activity of Jehovah's Witnesses in Italy. Of course, first of all, I like to convey to you the greetings and the love of the Bethel family of Rome and also of the 200 brothers that we have in the military prison of Gaeta. Just last week I paid a visit to them and they said, Brother Fenati, not forget, when you will see brothers in the United States, give our greetings and love. But after this, we want to consider some things about the Bible in itself. In the book of Acts, if you open your Bible in the chapter 28, you see what is said about the Apostle Paul when he traveled toward Rome. In verse 13, 12 and 13, we see that he arrived in the port of Syracuse. He is down in Sicily. As you know, Italy is like a boat. The majority of you maybe were in Italy sometime. And in the end of this boat, there is the islands of Sicily. And Syracuse was one of the main ports in that time, 2,000 years ago. And after a while, in verse 13, is mentioned the city of Rhegium, is one of the harbor. It was also in that time in Calabria. Calabria is the point nearest to the Sicily island. And also in the verse 13 is mentioned also, and a day later should rain spring up, and we made it into Pozzuoli, we call this in Italy. Pozzuoli is an harbor city near to the city of Naples. And in verse 15, Paul mentioned the marketplace of Appius and 3 taverns. These are places that we still know, and are interesting to see that the Apostle Paul had the opportunity to see those places in Italy. And now, I can tell you that all in these places now we have congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. In the city of Syracuse, we have 3 congregations. In the city of Reggio Calabria, we call now, in the city of Reggio Calabria, we have 3 congregations too. Another will be formed soon. In Pozzuoli, we have a congregation. Pozzuoli is very close to Naples. In Naples, we have around 20 or 25 congregations, but in Pozzuoli, we have 1. And in this place that is mentioned, marketplace of the Appian Way, Foro Appio, we call now, we don't have a congregation with the name Foro Appio, because now Foro Appio is just 2 or 3 houses. This is all. But not too far, there is a small town, and in this place we have another congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. Of course, following the record of Acts chapter 28, we see that the Apostle Paul reached also Rome. As you know, Rome is considered the cradle of Christendom, and now in Rome we have 42 congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses. So in the time of the Apostle Paul, he was happy to reach the city of Rome. When we see in the beginning of the letter that the Apostle Paul wrote to that congregation, is mentioned that he has the desire, the feeling to reach the brothers in Rome in order to convey spiritual things and to be builded himself from the opportunity to meet the brothers in Rome. So in that time probably there was a congregation in Rome. Sure, we don't know the place. Maybe it was in the north, in the southern part of Rome, but you can be sure. If you go in Rome, near to the place where the Apostle Paul was in prison, or near to the place where he was gathering with the other brother as a congregation, now we have a congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. All around Rome we have several congregations. This is interesting, especially in consideration that until a few years ago, there was no activity of Jehovah's Witnesses in Rome. The first record that we have about Jehovah's Witnesses in Rome was in 1939, when 25 brothers they were put in front of the Supreme Fascist Court, and they were sentenced to 6 to 11 years of prison. This was our first record of Jehovah's Witnesses in the city of Rome, in modern time, of course. But after a while, especially from 47, in the end of 1947, in the beginning of 1948, a family of brothers moved down to Rome and have the opportunity to start to do some preaching activity. After a while, in the end of 1948, the branch of Jehovah's Witnesses in Italy, that in that time was up in Milano, was moved down to Rome, and saw some missionaries arrive, and they start to preach from house to house. And of course, one congregation was always established in the branch, and they had to take care of all the territory of the city of Rome. But after a while, the number increased, and as I said before, now in the city of Rome, we have 42 congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses. The good news practically is spreading in all the part of the country, starting in the end of the Second World War. Before the Second World War, there were some interested persons in all the part of the country. The good news arrived in Italy from some Italians. They were working in foreign country, maybe some of you. They learned the truth in this town of Roseto. Their relative in Italy, and maybe they have sent in the past some books, booklets, and this is the way that the truth reached the country. But the first congregation in Italy, back in 1910, 1915, started in the northern part of Italy, near to the city of Torino, is near to the border with France. This was an area where there was many Protestants, and one of these pastors was the first one that translated the first publication in the Italian language. Of course, he was a Protestant, but he recognized that this book of the International Bible Students was good. And so he worked it. He translated and he published these books with his money. It was published in Italy. And this was the first publication after he translated also the Watchtower, the magazines. And the Watchtower magazines in that time was printed in Italy. But of course, there were no publishers to go from house to house to making the distribution of the magazines. So they give all the magazines to the newspaper men, the people they sell the newspaper, and this was the first way they tried to extend the Watchtower magazines through the country. This work was maybe for 1 or 2 or 3 years. After maybe they finished the money, I don't know exactly what was the situation, but they stopped to print the Watchtower in Italy, and the society take care of the printing of the Italian issue of the Watchtower magazines here in United States, and from the States this publication were sent to Italy. Anyway, when they made the first, what they call in that time, International Assembly in Italy, it was back in, I think, 1920, 1925, and they were just a small group of brothers, 60 or 70 people, and the majority of them, they came from Switzerland. Anyway, they tried to do all what they could in order to preach the good news of the kingdom. And when in 1939 the Italian government joined in the Second World War, they arrested all the people through the country. They have some publication of Jehovah's Witnesses. And it seems that in that time around 300 persons were arrested in all the part of Italy. Of course, some they stay in prison only for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, but around 40 brothers or 50 brothers, they stay in prison for 4 years, until to the time when the Fascist government fell down. Some of them, as I mentioned before, were sentenced to 11 years of prison. It's interesting, the record of Sister Maria Pizzato. She was a sister that in that time was practically in charge of the work in Italy. She knew the German language and she knew French, she knew English, so she was able to make the translation and to mimeographic the magazines and to send the magazines in all the part of the country. She was sentenced to 11 years of prison, 2 years because she offended the Fascist government, 2 years because she offended the Pope, 2 years because she offended the Hitler government, the German government, and 1 year because she offended the king. Maybe the king in Italy in that time was just an alpha figure because the top man was Mussolini. Maybe this is the reason because she received only 1 year for the king. And also the remnant year because she talked against the Italian government. Anyway, she stayed in prison only 4 years. Of course, 4 years is something, but was not 11 years. And when the Fascist government fell down, she was free, and she tried, after the Fascists, they tried to be organized again, and they tried to put her again in prison, but she was able to go in Switzerland and she was saved for this. It's interesting the fact that many people they were arrested back in 1939, they just were people they have received maybe the enemy's book or the religion book or some Watchtower magazines. They were reading, but some of them they were really not interested in the truth. Some other really they weren't interested. I remember a case of a very small brother, short brother. He learned the truth in Australia back in 1914. He returned back in Italy, and he started to preach in his small town up in the mountain. And in that time, he has a store where he sold wine, olive oil, or something like that. And one day he was sitting in front of his house, and a black car arrived. He stopped in this small square of this small town. He asked, "Do you know Mr. and so-and-so?" He said, "I am." His name was Tancredi. "I am Tancredi." These two men looked to him and said, "You are Tancredi?" No, we are looking for something else. Because, you see, he did not have the appearance to be a political man. Maybe they were looking for some big man, and he was a small one. And he said, the brother said, no, I am Tancredi. I am the only one. I know everybody. I can assure you. "But really you are Mr. and so-and-so?" "Yes." "What is your house?" "This is my house." They opened the door, and they saw the Bible, they saw the enemy's book, they saw the religious book, some magazine. They keep all this literature. They said, "You come with us." They put him in the car, and they went in the main city, it was the city of Lucca, and they put him in the prison. But he did not realize why he was put in prison, because they did not mention, "Are you one Bible students? Are you reading this publication? This publication are your publication?" And so he was in prison. And he stayed in the prison. When he arrived, these two men talking with the head of the prison, they said, "This is a man that he must be alone, stay alone. He have not the right to talk with anybody of the prisoner that are in this prison." So he was alone in his, what calls small room cells, and he said, "Why they have put me in prison? Maybe they have discovered that I have put some water in the wine? Maybe this is the reason." Because he did not realize, just to tell you what was the situation in that time. When the daughter of these brothers returned at home, she was looking for her father. "Where is my father?" So they looked in one place, in another. They went to the police station that was in that town. They asked, "Did you saw my father?" "No." Anyway, they worked 3 days. The local police worked 3 days in order to find that his father was put in the prison of Lucca. Because the two policemen arrived directly from Rome in order to arrest him. They were of the Ovra police, was the secret police of that time, and they put him in jail. But after a while, the daughter knew the local headman of the fascist government, and he was sent at home. But you see, they arrested in that time everybody that have some publication of Jehovah's Witnesses or international Bible students in that time. But anyway, the preaching activity practically started in Italy in 1946 after the Second World War. In that time, the first report, we were in Italy 96 publishers. We reached the 1,000 publishers in 1950. And I remember in that time, 1,000 publishers in the country. Oh, it seems to have put one finger in the heavens to have reaching 1,000 publishers. We have an assembly, not in Rome, because it was the Holy Year in that time, 1950. We have the assembly in Milano. And we tried to have a theater in Milano, and in the last minutes they refused the theater. And so the brothers arranged tents, big tents, and we put the tents in a square, and we have our convention under the tents. It was an interesting point. And from that time on, the preaching activity was spread in all the country. And now it's interesting to see that last year we had the opportunity to close the activity of the year with the 12% of increase. And during the months of September, October, November, December, and January, each month we have a new peak in publishers. And just in the month of January, we reach our 8% of increase with 69,219 publishers. Of course, it's not an outstanding increase like we have in the past, but we are happy to see that new people are coming at the knowledge of the truth. Maybe you can say it's difficult to preach the good news from house to house in Italy. No, it's not. It's not difficult. I would say it is quite easy. Because the people, they feel the need to know some things. Of course, as you know, maybe the political situation in Italy is not good at all, it's worse. And this creates a bitter, bitter condition among the people. Some are looking for some things new. Some other, they close completely their mind. They are so confused, they don't want to know nothing. The only things that are interesting are in material things. But we find many people that really are suffering for the injustice they can see. The Catholic Church has nothing to offer to the people. They are so close in political way. They are divided now. In the past, it was impossible to believe that a priest was talking against the Pope. But now it's so easy to find priests that are speaking against the Pope. They don't like the way that the Catholic Church run their activity until now, to have big churches, many gold, silver inside. Now the young priests, they are quite, I would say, revolutionary inside of the Catholic Church. They want to change everything, to take away the images from the church, to take away all the gold, to be like working people. So there is this situation, and now when you see the advertisement of the movie, sometimes you see also movie against the Catholic Church. This is some things new for Italy. Maybe in the United States is a common thing, I don't know your situation, but in Italy some things new. So the people, they said, okay, the Catholic Church has nothing to do to me. What I can do? So they try to have some things. Mainly now they join in the demons activity, spiritual things. But some other there, they are looking for the Bible. So when we go from house to house and we find these people, you can imagine it's very easy to preach to them. Of course, sometimes when you go from house to house, you receive the door that is closed upon you and said, no, we already know Jehovah's Witnesses. And another door can say, I have no time, I am busy. But you find also people that like to talk, and easily you can start the Bible study at the first call and continue. And in a few months, these people, they came at the Kingdom Hall and they start to preach the good news from house to house. This maybe is the reason, because we have the opportunity to see each month practically an average of 500 or 600 more publishers. This was according to the figures of this new service here. Now in Italy we have more than 1,200 congregations. We are working in order to arrange about 70 circuits through all the country. We are preaching in the 99% of our territory. I can tell you some experience about our preaching activity. Sometimes when you go from house to house, in the majority of the case, we find the woman in the house. Sunday you can find also the men, but generally during the week the men are working, and the majority of the women stay at home. Even now a great number of women, of Italian women, are going to work in the office, in the factories, and so on and so on. But when you find these people, you preach, of course, and they came at the knowledge of the truth, and the majority of the case the house is divided. One is a believer and the other is unbeliever. We have a case of a sister, of a woman that started a Bible study in Palermo, in Sicily, and the husband in the beginning, he was happy because he said, oh, now my wife, she studies something, studying the Bible. The Bible is good in order to train the children that we have. Very good. But when the wife start to put some changing in her life, in order to live according to the Bible, she start to attending to the meetings. Oh, this was not good at all for the husband. He said, no, you can study the Bible in the house, but you have not the right to go to the Kingdom Hall. I don't want you to go from house to house to preach. I don't want you to stop what you call the social way of living. You have to do this, you have to do in the other way. And the wife said, listen, I am a good wife. Now maybe I am a better wife that I was in the past. I want to continue to study the Bible. And the husband said, no, you have to stop. No, I want to continue. No, you have to stop. And the husband said, okay, I am asking a divorce from you. He went to the lawyer in order to start the paper for the divorce. And he said, the main reason because I want to divorce from my wife is because now she is one of the Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't like this. And the lawyer, he was an old man, he said, listen, I am talking just like a father that he could talk with the son. Do you have some things against your wife? Yes. What do you have against your wife? She is one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't like this. He said, but she is a good woman? Yes, she is a good woman. She is take care of the family? Yes, she is take care of the family. She dress in the proper way the children? Yes. He is preparing everything for you? Yes. You know, before, maybe she don't iron properly my shirts, but now everything is okay. So, this lawyer said, what do you want? A broken house? Or do you want to continue to live with your wife and to have a good wife, even if she believes in another way? But he said, you take your time. If you decide to have a broken house, come to me, and I will start the paper for your divorce. And this impressed the mind, some things in the mind of this man. He said, oh, the lawyer maybe is right or maybe is wrong. I must to go to talk with the priest. He went to talk with the priest and explained his situation. And he said, you know, my wife, she is now one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I don't want this. And the priest said, oh, of course, it's not good that your wife is one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And he said, but you see, my wife is mentioned also that in the Bible there is some things against you. He said, the priest, what? As example, you are worshiping the images. And he said the images is some things wrong. The worship of the images is wrong according to the Bible. And the priest said, you know, we have the images in the church. We pray on the images. This is true. But we do this because the people want this. And this man, maybe like a light is opening in his mind. He said, oh, maybe my wife, she is right. And she returned at home. He said, okay, I have talked with the priest, but he did not mention what was really talking with the priest. But now I want a Bible. I want to buy a Catholic Bible. I will study the Bible, and if I find something that is wrong in your religions, we made a divorce. He started to study the Bible, and now he is a brother in the congregation. This is true. But not all the situations are the same. Sometimes it's difficult to live when the husband or the wife is a believer. We have many of these experiences in the country. As example, we have a case of a lady. She started a Bible study with a sister, and the Bible study was a long Bible study. She studied for 3 or 4 years, and she was unable to take the right decision to start to attend to the meetings at the Kingdom Hall. She said, you know, my husband, he doesn't want me to attend to the Kingdom Hall. You know, my husband doesn't want me to continue maybe to start to go from house to preach. And she put all the time the excuse, my husband, my husband, my husband. And she was not making a good progress. She had progress in knowledge, but this was all. And one day the sister, they have already stopped the Bible study, just she may call from time to time with this lady. And she said, we are already 3 or 4 years that you studying the Bible with me. So you know all the things in the Bible. Now is a time for you to move. You need to have fear of Jehovah and not of man. And we have a problem? She said, yes, this is really my problem. But what I can do? I don't have the strength. I am not strong enough in order to face the situation. And the sister said, he opened the Bible, he mentioned some scripture in the Bible, you present your problem to Jehovah in prayer. And ask in order to receive enough strength to do your work. And this woman did. And this woman followed this counsel. And was near to Christmas time, and you know the activity in Christmas time, social activity, the family, they join all together, they drink wine, they make what you call brindisi for the Christmas time and so on. So she knew that this was wrong. And his conscience start to, what you call, fighting against herself. And he said, I must to solve this problem now. This is the right time. So she was invited in the house of her mother-in-law in order to have this feast in the house. And a few days before, she met her mother-in-law and said, listen, you know that I am studying the Bible. You have invited me and my husband in your house for this feast for Christmas time. But I have taken the decision that I want to serve Jehovah. And you know that this is wrong according to the Bible. Please, I will come to your feast, but have me excuse if I will not join with you in this brindisi and all the other stuff. Please understand me, because you already know the situation is quite difficult between me and my husband. Please don't complicate my situation. And her mother-in-law said, you are right, not worry. I understand that you are studying the Bible. It's good. You came and everything will be okay. So she went to the feast, everything was okay, very quiet, just a dinner in the family. After a while, the mother-in-law said, now I want to study the Bible with you. And she started a Bible study with her, and both they grew in the truth, and now they are two sisters. And the mother-in-law has arranged the matter in order that also their son, maybe two daughters and one son, they came at the knowledge of the truth. But the husband of the first sister, she is not yet a brother, but he's studying the Bible. So you see, sometimes we have people, they study, but they don't take really, they don't face the situation. They are in fear of man. But when you can take away this fear of man, so the situation is going better. Of course, not all the people, they have a good life before to come in the knowledge of the truth. When the Apostle Paul wrote his letter to the city of Corinth, to the congregation of Corinth, it's mentioned that some of them, they were immoral people, but they said the truth have changed your life. And this is a case of a man down in the city near to Salerno. This man, when he was 13 years old, he was already, a gun boy. He had the gun and pum, try to kill one in another in order to be, in that time, a small boss. And this was his life. He was a robber. He went to the road when we have some prostitute, he take away the money from them, the gun. And he joined in what they call, it's not mafia, it's not called mafia, but sometimes there are a group of people, they act in this way. We put this example. You are a man that you give some money, you loan some money to another man. And you said, okay, in 6 months' time, you have to give me back this money with some interest. 6 months pass, 1 year is passed, and you are unable to receive this money. So you call this group of men. He said, I have loaned maybe 100,000 liras, 1 million lira to this man. He doesn't give the money back. Can you arrange everything in order that I could have the money back? And if so, you can keep 20%, 30%, 10%, it depends on the amount of money. So they go, and they start with this man, they knock at this man, and they receive the money back. This was the activity of this man. Of course, it's not a legal activity, you can understand this. And he said that one time also the local priest called him. He said, you need, I have given money, these people and so, they did not have give the money to me. Can you arrange in order that I can have back the money? You can have the 30%. And if you do a good work, you see my young nice, you can have also my young nice. And this shocked this man, because he said, also the priest is working in this way. But after a while, he got married. But this point was in his mind. He said, I am a Catholic one. Of course, I am wrong because I recognize my activity is wrong, but I must to do some things. I want to change my life. In order to change his life, he got married. But marriage was not the solution of the problem, because after, he have also the wife in order to support. So he have to join in more in legal business in order to support also his wife. After he have a child, so expenses grow in the family, and he need more money. He continuing his activity. One day, a brother paid a visit to this house, and he talked with this woman, and he explained about the purpose of God. And she said, okay, you look to the time when my husband returned at home. He's arrived at home, and the brother start to talk about the new order of things, no robbery, no gangster, no wrong things, only peace. And this man was looking and said, oh, this must be crazy, because it's impossible to have a world like he's explaining. And this brother, maybe because he was paying a little of attention, he continued to mention in the Bible, no fornication, no adultery, no this, no the other. And the other was saying, crazy, crazy, crazy. So you see the two situations. But after a while, the wife of this man started really to have a Bible study with Jehovah's Witnesses. He opposed to her, to his wife, but one day the wife said, listen, you are an illegal man. You are doing things that are not right at all. Now, I am a Christian woman. I don't like to receive money from you if it is not legal money or money gained from in the legal way. So what we can do? This shocked this man. He said, but until now I have given all what you need. And so, yes, but I was not a Christian. I accepted this illegal money. But now I am a Christian. I don't like. If you don't like to find a good work, I will start to find work in order to support myself and my son. And you go out. This man said, oh, maybe this is a true religion. He returned back the experience that he had with the priest. He started to have a Bible study, and he was baptized during the assembly of last year in Naples. So some have to do some things in order to arrange their life. The preaching activity in Italy now is spread through all the country, also through the radio. It's some things new that we have in the country. Now we have thousands, no, I would say hundreds is better, hundreds of commercial radio and TV station. And this, in Rome, at example, I think we have 56 of these commercial radio. Through all the country, we have also the national radio. But this commercial radio, they don't have too much money, and they have to have a good program in order to have more listeners. And they offer to Jehovah's Witnesses the time in order to speak to the radio. And this is good. Now we have around 150, 160 radio through all the countries. That each week they have a program about Jehovah's Witnesses. Program of 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, according to the size of the talk, of the conversation. We have also around 20 or 25 TV radio stations that are using program about Jehovah's Witnesses. And this is good because when we go now from house to house, even in the small town, the people know about Jehovah's Witnesses. And many times they said, oh, you are the people that are talking in the radio? Please, come in the house. I want to hear more. And so this gives to us the opportunity to make a little more distribution of publication and also to have the opportunity to explain our activity, to enter in the house and, of course, to preach the good news of the kingdom. Just a few weeks ago, a brother sent a letter and said, you know, brothers, you sent to me a tape because the society have arranged tape with a talk in one side and another talk in the other side. Said, you sent to me a tape, and now the local radio each week have this Bible discussion for 15 or 20 minutes. And from that time on, practically more 1 month and a half of time, I have started 10 new Bible studies. Because when I went from house to house, the people pay attention, they ask information about what they have here in the radio, and this is the result. Of course, now we have to see in what way this Bible study can grow, and yes, we have to see the result. This is the point. Another experience is about the preaching activity. In many congregations, especially in the city, say like Rome, Milano, Torino, we have a small territory because the number of congregation is increasing. As example, in the congregation where I am in Rome, we have few houses, and every 2 weeks we are preaching in that territory. And so we are asking to other congregation a small part of territory in order to have some things to do, and they offer to us the square of the railway station. And this is a good place in order to distribute magazines to all the people. They came and go from the railway station. We have a case of a regular pioneers. This was in the city of Milano. He found in his congregation 300 or 400 magazines, and he said maybe also the other congregation in Milano, they have some old magazines. So he came through to the other congregation, and he put together 4,000 magazines. He said, now I go to preach in the square of the railway station, and in 1 month he was able to distribute 4,000 magazines. Another small congregation in Rome is a congregation of 30 publishers. In the month of January, last January, they said, we want to do a very good activity. So the elders in the congregation, the 2 elders in the congregation, they talked together. They said, we have to arrange in order some of us could join in the, auxiliary pioneer. They encourage also the ministerial servant to do the same. and encourage the other brother in the congregation. So in 30 publishers, I think 12, they were auxiliary pioneer, and in 1 month's time, they distribute 7,000 magazines. They came in better, they clean all our all magazines that we have, and they were able to do a very good preaching activity. It's interesting because this creates a better spirit in the congregation, a desire to communicate, to preach the good news of the kingdom. And of course, we don't know. When we give a magazines to somebody, maybe they don't read, but another time they read. Maybe one article, and sometimes one article is enough to open the mind and to stimulate the mind of this person in order to have more information about the Bible. As the Bible mentions, you put your bread in the water, and in long time, you will see the result. A couple of years ago, Jehovah's Witnesses were legally recognized in Italy. Until to that time, we did all our preaching activity without to be legally recognized by the government. But 2 years ago, we went in one office of the government asking some authorization, and this man said, "But you Jehovah's Witnesses, you are the second religion in Italy. You are just after the Catholic Church." Of course, the Catholic Church has 50 million people. We have only 60,000 people in that time. But you are the second religion in Italy, and you are not recognized, legally recognized. We have recognized some religions that have only few hundreds people. Why you are not asking the legal recognition? We said, back in 1952, we asked this to the government, and you answered no. So we went ahead. This man said, now the wind is blowing in another direction. You can present your paper and you will be recognized. Just in 2 months we were recognized. And now we have a certain number of brothers that can perform their own marriage, the marriage between the brothers. Maybe this is not so important for you, because I know that in the United States, in the congregation, you have the right to perform the marriage. But in Italy, some things new, because for many hundreds of years, only the Catholic Church have the right to perform marriages. After, is around 100 years or less, also the government has the right to perform marriages. You see, the religious take the step first, after the government. And these were the only two that in Italy have the right to perform marriages. But now also Jehovah's Witnesses. It's interesting, in a small town where a brother and a sister, they want to be married, now they go to the Kingdom Hall. It's normal for you, but it was not normal for us. And you can imagine the talking of the people all around. You see Jehovah's Witnesses, they go in their own church. They call the Kingdom Hall church. They go in their own church. They have a legal marriage. I performed some of this marriage in Bethel in our Kingdom Hall, and one day I married a brother and a sister, and the father of this brother is a general in the army, and he came with his brother, fleshly brother. The fleshly brother, he's a lawyer. He's a lawyer in what we call diritto canonico. Is the law about the Catholic Church. He is considering this matter of law. So he was particularly interested in the way of our marriage. After hearing the talk, he said, "Oh boy, it's the first time that I hear so many good expressions from the Bible." And he was a lawyer of the diritto canonico. This is the important matter. And also the man that take the picture in the hand of this marriage, he came to me, he said, "You see, I am making so many service pictures in the Catholic wedding, but this is the first time that I hear some things from the Bible." So it's a good witness that we can give also in this new activity that we have. We do not have solved the situation about the draft in the country. Now we have around 400 brothers that are still in prison. They are sentenced between 12 months to 15 months of prison. And after a while, they are sent at home. We have three main military prisons in Italy. One is in Rome, another is up in the north in Peschiera del Garda, and another, the largest prison, is down to Tegaeta. And I would say that it's good that our brothers are in prison. It's not good at all, but to have the opportunity to stay 12 months together or 15 months is a good occasion for them to study the Bible. They have all the meetings. They have also the circuit assembly in the prison. They have the district assembly in the prison. They made the drama with all, like we have in our convention. And this is very interesting for them, because some of these young brothers are not yet baptized, because maybe they are studying the truth for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Now they are called to join in the army, and they say, no, I am one of Jehovah's Witnesses. They refuse it. They go in prison. And this is a good occasion for them to study, because they have a program to study a couple of hours each day the Bible. And when we have the circuit assembly, it's interesting to have just a small plastic pool in the middle of this room, in the dining room that we are using for our talk, and to see some of them, they are baptized in the prison. Last year, I had the opportunity to be in the prison, because every week we have the right, as a minister recognized by the government, have the right to go in the prison, stay 2 hours a week in order to have meetings with the brothers. During the circuit assembly time, I saw 16 of these young brothers to have a baptism here in the prison. 2 weeks ago, another brothers went in the prison of Gaeta. 6 of them, they were baptized. And when the local authority, they saw this, he said, well, we are happy for you, but they are not happy at all, because they see that these young people, in order to be sorry for the fact they are in prison, they are very happy. And when they give a sing-song, you can imagine the military prison of Gaeta, where generally we have 200, 260 of these young brothers. Gaeta is an old, very old fortress, and they are with large wall, and the ceiling is not this, but was round ceiling with small window. It's an old castle. And when is a big hall for 50 people, but it's small for 200 or 250. But when we have this meeting, all these young brothers are sitting in their own, it's not a chair, what you call, a small chair anyway. They are sitting one following to the other. When they give a sing-song, you can imagine 200 to 250 voice, just blowing everything. And generally, after each time that I go 1 a month, after I pay a visit to the captain of the prison, also the colonel of the prison, and we talk a little bit just to have public relations, you see. And he said, boy, today what has happened? I hear from my office the voice of this young man. Do you have something special? He said, yes, today we have something special. What do you have? A talk about the Bible. Oh, I know that you have a talk all the time. Yes, but this is special all the time for us. Anyway, we are happy to continue to preach the good news in the country, and also in prison. Even in prison, we are having good result, because some of the prisoners, they are not brothers, they are coming at the knowledge of the truth. It is upset to the local authority. We have a case of a man, a young man. He started when he was 16 or 17. When he was 16 or 17 years old, he started to rob, and he was put in prison. After he returned back, he's still again in prison again. After he joined in the army, and when he was in the army, he received a license for a few days. He returned back at home. He joined in another stealing, and he was put in prison. He was a soldier in that time, so he was sent to the military, to prison. And he came in touch with the brothers, and the brothers tried to have to him a Bible study. And this man came at the knowledge of the truth. He was baptized in the truth. But now there is a problem with him. And the problem is this. As a gangster or a robber that he was before, after the period that he was sentenced to be in prison, he has to return back in his army. And after 3 or 4 months, in order to finish his period, he can return back at home. But now the situation is changed, because he is one of Jehovah's Witnesses. When he stopped his time of sentence in prison, he had to return back in the army. He had to act shoot the army garment. He doesn't like to do this. He cannot do this. So, he have another court case. He was sentenced to another 8 months in prison. Now, when he had to return back, the same situation. And according to the law, you have to stay in prison for 45 years, until to 45 years old. And this is not so easy. So the head captain that is in charge to all the Italian military prison, one day he called me in his office. He said, there is some people, they are trying to appear like Jehovah's Witnesses in order to create confusion about Jehovah's Witnesses. He said, I don't know nothing about this, but if you can give to me some name, I can consider the matter. And he gave to me the name of this young man. And I said, okay, I investigate the matter. So I went to the military prison of Rome, because I was in Gaeta. I went to the military prison of Rome. I investigate the matter. And the brother tell me the experience. So after 2 weeks, I returned back to the prison of Gaeta. I pay a visit to him. I said, Mr. and-so, you tell me last time that this man was not one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now I tell you the story. When he was a Catholic, he was a robber. When he was a Catholic, he did so and so and so. Now he studied the Bible with Jehovah's Witnesses. He stopped his activity to be a robber. Now he is studying the Bible. He is preaching the Bible. He is trying to do what he can. He's another man. What you have intention to do with him? And he consulted another captain. He said, the only way is next time to give a sentence to him, maybe a few months of prison, and to put at on with the Article 26. I said, okay, I am happy for this. The Article 26 mentions that if one is a soldier and is put in prison, and if he has the application of this article number 26, they send him in the civilian prison. And having put him in the civilian prison, he did not have the problem to join in the army again. He's already dismissed from the army. He realized the point. He said, next time he will be free. We hope that he can maintain his position. But it's interesting that the authorities are not happy to see that some people, they came in touch with the truth when they are in prison, and they change their life. Another captain, he said, talking with the main captain, he said, you see, maybe now we have a case like he mentioned the name in the Bible of the woman that was not so good woman, and the Magdalena, we call, I don't know in English, and he came in the knowledge of the truth. He said, maybe we have a case of one like this. And I hope that you continue to do a good work among all these. He used the word delinquenti, means robber people that we have in the military to prison. The other said, oh, what are you talking about this? We want to keep this man as a soldier. And the other said, but it's better not to have soldiers than to have right people, good people, as we are Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, so they are fighting one against the other. And this is good for us, because this means that some people are interested also in our work, even if they are soldiers too. The political situation in Italy, as I mentioned before, is not good at all. We don't know what will be the situation in Italy, maybe in the next months, in the next few months. The government is moving toward left all the time. Maybe take not too long in order to have the Communist Party in the government. Until now, they are not in the government. They are outside of the government, but they are in position to tell to the government what to do, and the government have to follow what the communists are saying. The reason because they are not in the government is very easy. Because Italy need money. Italy can receive money from United States and from the European Common Market. The European Common Market and the United States government will not send money to Italy if the government is, if the communists will be in the government. So the communists, they know this, and this is the only reason because the communists are not yet in the government. But you can be seen in few months, we will see, or in few years, we will see the changing of the political situation in the country. We are not disturbed of this, but of course we can understand that maybe tomorrow we will not have all the freedom that we are now in order to preach the good news of the kingdom. So what we have to do? We have to try to do our best in order to continue to build up in the faith toward Jehovah in this time, and to continue to do our best in order to preach the good news of the kingdom now. Because now we have the freedom, now we have the time, now we have the opportunity to do so. And we are happy to continue to preach the good news of the kingdom, and we hope to have enough time in order to help more people to come at the knowledge of the truth. The field in Italy is a good field. We see each month people that are coming at the knowledge of the truth. And this is really encouraging with us. And we try, with Jehovah's blessing, to continue to do our best in order that the good news of the kingdom continue to be preached in the country. Thank you very much, brothers, for this opportunity that I have to talk with you. And if you wish, I will be glad to bring your greetings to the brothers in Italy.
We surely appreciated that information, Brother Fenati, and we're so happy to hear about the unusual work in Italy and how Jehovah is really directing his work.